Back to the CHF Overtime podcast on this Wednesday afternoon. Jordan DeLuciano, as always, and joining me now is the owner of Howies Hockey Tape, Max Sieplinga. Max, thanks for jumping on.
Hey, thanks for having me, Jordan. Pleased to be here, man.
Yeah, nice to meet you. Nice to finally meet you over. Get to see, I guess, face to face, the best face to face we can get until we meet in person. Yeah. So, welcome to the CHF. By the way, I see already it's making a big impact within the CHF. We'll get into that in a second later on in the interview. We'll talk about you and your relationship with Scott along with the league. But to start it off, Howie's Hockey Tape. How did that come to be?
Man, so kind of goes back to growing up. I played some, grew up in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Played some decently serious travel hockey here, some AAA, and my dad got really, really tired of buying a single roll. I'd come to him at a tournament in Chicago or Toronto or Pittsburgh and say, "Hey, Dad, I need $5 for a roll of tape." And he started to think, "Hey, there's got to be a better way." So he kind of came up with the idea to start selling tape in bulk. And this was kind of right as the internet was starting to get going. So he created an internet site that is Jordan, my first name is Howard. My middle name is Max.
Yep.
So that's kind of, you may have been going there at some point, but yeah, that's kind of where we got the name, is Howie's Hockey Tape. And it was kind of a project kind of later on in high school, right as I was going into college, that we kind of launched as just an online web store. And from there, it kind of continued to grow. So.
Yeah, you mentioned just there, Howard, your name is, but everyone goes to you by Max, right? Max is like the go-to way to refer to you as, but Howard is actually your first name, right?
Yeah, correct. Yep. And yeah, it was kind of a childhood thing where I was Max my whole life growing up, but now as I've gotten older, my professional name is kind of morphed into Howie. So I really do kind of go by both.
Gotcha. So you mentioned the story behind it. Your dad was sick and tired of getting that one roll of tape for $5. But other than getting in bulk, what was any other goals in mind when this company first started?
In the very, very early days, it was, how do we make our first sale? Was, the initial thought. And I was still pretty young at that point. I was, we started in 2002, which was the year I graduated high school. So then I went on, as you know, I played at Calvin College. And while I was at Calvin, I'm like, Dad, and we weren't selling barely any tape online as it is. And I'm like, Dad, instead of trying to sell 30 rolls online, why don't I start calling on some local college teams? I'll start calling on some local pro shops. And we kind of went from there. And while I was in college, I was, there was, in my opinion, there was never a tape that was really a cut above from a quality standpoint. So I spent a lot of my college time trying to say, hey, what are the attributes that make the world's highest quality hockey tape? So obviously it's about, sales and marketing and getting sales. But on the other side of thing, like our mission is to, literally sell and make and sell the world's highest quality hockey tape, as well as other accessories. So that was a big part of, my senior years, kind of perfecting that blend. So, yeah.
Without giving away the secret recipe, I guess divulge as much as you could without giving away too much. What is the ideal success for that tape?
Yeah, I mean, it's how we build it. It's, we make all of it in the U.S. A lot of our competitors are made overseas. And it comes down to, I mean, we cost more. We're not outrageously more expensive, but we cost more, and it's the ingredients that go into it. I mean, we don't skimp on adhesive. I mean, the cheapest way to save money on making tape is to put less into it. So, we put more adhesive into it. We have a higher thread count on our cloth. A lot of the proprietary stuff comes into the, what actually goes into the adhesive, what goes into the cloth, the poly cotton blend and stuff like that. So we can't get into that. But I mean, that's the short answer is, not taking shortcuts,
Gotcha.
and making it here in the US, frankly. So.
Yeah, so you touched on it a little bit before, your hockey background. You mentioned, believe you mentioned Calvin College before. Just speak to a little bit about your hockey background that has brought you to today.
Yeah, I was a good hockey player in college, but I was never, I quickly came to the realization as soon as I started. I mean, I went to college for school. Calvin's a really good school academically. And, going there, I really like hockey was really important to me. I love the game. And I would never trade my experience for anything. But I also knew I wasn't going on to play professional hockey, but I loved the game more than anything. So it was like, how can I make a career out of hockey and still be part of the game? Calvin was an awesome spot for that. I grew up in Grand Rapids. That's where Calvin is. So I was really able to, while I was at Calvin, I was able to kind of, tinker around with this business while I was at school. So.
Okay. So while playing, you gained experience in the field. So that's pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So now on to the CHF side. Before we get into specifically the Collegiate Hockey Federation, your relationship with the brand new executive director, Scott Solomon, is that a reason why that brought you to the CHF? To speak to how your relationship over the years has brought you to this moment with Scott.
It is, yeah. So Scott and I have been friends for a long time. I met Scott when he was serving for the ACHA years ago, and we've always stayed in contact. I've always thought very highly of Scott. And so the moment he got the new job with the CHF, I mean, he shot me a text like right away and was like, "Hey man, I'm here and we want to get you on board." So it was a no-brainer. Anything that Scott vouches for, I know it's going to be well run. And so it was something that we gravitated toward right away. So.
Mm-hmm. And now just Scott or any opportunities you see within the CHF that you would like to jump on for Howies?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, so there's a lot of teams that we, already sell to. We've sold to them for a long time. I mean, just to name a few, I mean, we've got Florida, we got Georgia Tech, the Naval Academy, Ole Miss, Gettysburg. We just hired a marketing guy who played at Florida State, Mason Coletta, phenomenal guy. Mm-hmm. And so we already have a lot of ties within the CHF, just dealing with a lot of the teams, right? And so, but I think that, to like officially, create these ties, I think makes a lot of sense for both groups as is. Yeah, I mean, we love the press. We love what the CHF is doing. We love the idea of the player of the month, which we're going to roll out. I don't know if that's been announced across the CHF.
Perfect timing. That was my next question. That was my next thing I was going to talk about. Yeah, the player of the month was announced today. One player representing each conference. So go ahead. Howie's involvement now with the player of the month.
Yeah, it'll be great. I mean, look, I was a college hockey player too on the club side, and it's great to get some notoriety. It'll be a good thing. We'll toss these guys some swag and tip our hats and say, hey, you're having a great month and keep up the good work. And on the flip side too, from the team level, like whether it kind of depends, like some programs are more student run, right? And some are a little bit more official, but either way, like we're the kind of company who we're made up of a bunch of guys who have been there. So whether it's each player's chipping in $50 so that you can have team tape and team laces and water bottles and logo pucks, like we're all about that. Or if, orders got to come from the, purchase orders from the school, that's great too. We have, preferred pricing for all the CHF teams. A lot of the new products that we're getting into as well are really apply well for the CHF teams, where it's like dry fit shirts, dry fit shorts. We're getting into, even these quarter zips, we can customize these with CHF team logos and stuff like that. So a lot of team wear is kind of one of the directions we're going. So yeah, we love helping these college hockey guys, bottom line. So.
Yep. You mentioned about a student run. I don't know if things changed this year, but two teams off the top of my head, Binghamton from last year and Babson were both team run last year. I remember Binghamton had 2 to 3 kids on the bench that were former players, I think just the semester prior. And then the captain of Babson was a big driving force in that team. I don't know if things have changed. I haven't spoken to either team since. But I wish I had these perks when I played my college days, with getting these incentives, player of the month stuff. The new attire, should I say, with the logos, whatnot. Yeah, we had our logos. Farmingdale did treat us well, but I feel like it's been now put on steroids now. The effort now that Howies is putting in as well.
Yeah, we want to make it easy for teams to do this, right? Because I mean, same deal. I mean, when I was there, it was. Just even when I look at Calvin, for example, I know they're not in CHF, but it was the same deal as when I was there. We didn't have a locker room. We didn't, the product, we didn't have custom pucks. I don't even know that we had team tape. I mean, we did because I brought it for the guys, right? But now when I look at Calvin, it's just, it just brings it to the next level. You know what I mean? So
yeah, we're more official there. So for the players of the month, you guys will be sending a reward to each player of the month.
Correct.
Just this past October, some players will be getting some stuff from Howies, right?
Yep. So that'll be good. And I think
go ahead. Sorry about that.
Well, no, you're fine. We'll probably, I think we're at 280,000 followers on our Instagram. So we'll give those guys some shout outs on our stories and stuff like that. And I think that's good for the league as well. Right. So, you guys are a great group, a growing group. You're definitely somebody who we definitely want to partner with. So.
Yep. So before we move on, I'll mention the sixth player of the month from each league. From the Atlantic Conference, Nick Sasso, excuse me if I'm pronouncing that wrong, forward from High Point University. The Empires, Farmingdale State College, John McCann. And then New England Independent Hockey Conference representing the University of New Hampshire, John Gallagher. College Hockey South, Florida Atlantic University, defenseman David Israel. Now going over to the Delaware Valley Conference, representing Penn State Harrisburg, Cam Moore. And then from the Upstate Conference, St. Bonaventure's forward, Owen Hughes. So two of those guys I actually had on the show this year currently. And some of these point totals are ridiculous when you look at their stat numbers. So good job on those 6 men, and congratulations. And have fun with your Howies care package that you soon will receive. So sticking with Howies, where do you see the future of Howies? Let's do 2 parts here. Firstly, the future of Howies within the CHF that we haven't already touched upon.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is year 1, obviously, for us in the league. So we want to see how this rolls out. I mean, like I said, Scott means a great deal to me, and I respect him a ton. So I want to see how this year goes. And then it's like, okay, let's get together and see what else we can do. I think a lot of it too has to do with what other products Howies grows into. I bet this is our 20th year actually, Jordan. We continue to grow, but we're also pretty conservative about, the things that we do and the projects that we take on. So if we're going to get into a new product or product line, we're going to do it right. So we don't rush into anything. So, the future I think is bright between the 2 groups, and we're excited to see what other ideas we can put together and go from there.
Yeah, you mentioned briefly again, similar to what I asked you before. Anything you can disclose? Any ideas of future products that you guys want to dabble into, or so far just keep everything under wraps?
I think a lot of it revolves around like teamwear. In the next 3-4 years is so like practice jerseys is a new product for us that come along with. I don't know if you've seen kind of like the pro style socks that go over the shin pads. That's a new product for us and frankly, they're awesome products. And then let's see, a lot of, just teamwear. So and I don't know if it necessarily always applies to the college non-varsity, but when a travel team rolls up to a rink on a Saturday, they're all decked out in warm-ups together, right? They all have shorts, they all have team beanies and team hats. And so I think that's a focus where, hockey bags are going to make sense for us to get into, where we co-brand it with the program or the team. So I think that's probably the next phase for Howies.
Yeah, you're right. Back when I played travel, matching team bags, everyone had the same jumpsuit on or whatnot. And then actually that did carry into Farmingdale. We did have the matching. Everyone looked the same when they walked in the building, whether it was suit or is the team apparel that you guys look to enhance within the whole entire CHF. But Max, nice meeting you. Thank you for joining the podcast. I appreciate all the information, man. I appreciate
Yeah.
talking. Yeah.
Thanks so much for having me, Jordan. And
No
we can't
problem,
wait
man.
to see where this all unfolds. I appreciate you taking time.
No problem. Yeah, no, I appreciate you copping on. So,
Yeah, you bet.
so to all the winners, players of the month, they will eventually all be hopping on the CHF Overtime podcast, talk about their month, talk about their team, and talk about their reward, courtesy of Max Sieplinga with Howies. So once again, my name is Jordan Luciano for the CHF Overtime podcast. Thanks for joining us, and I will see you all